So, I'm pretty sleepy because my sleep schedule is completely fucked at the moment, but I still need to make this video, put it out so that people see it. I feel like it's important that I discuss this. So, this first part of the video is going to be addressing my Fanboys. My Fanboys is a super franchise, and the critics, right? This is primarily towards Fanboys. I don't have issues with critics. See, the thing that I find interesting is that every time that I make a video, there's always this certain crowd of people that show up on my video. The type of people that show up on videos and pronounce a bunch of fucking headcanon and say that you're wrong for taking this viewpoint or this viewpoint, call you a faggot or a hater, whatever. I don't really give a shit. The thing that's most interesting to me is that these same fanboys would have no issues going to these clickbaity ass channels, you know exactly who I'm talking about, who say they have proof of certain things that are going to happen in Super, and then they ramble on with a bunch of bullshit for about 15 to 20 minutes and make money off of your fucking assumption that they have something that's useful to you when they most definitely do not. You know what the video is talking about, where they had these, you know, fake golden fur Gokus, or, you know, the one with the fucking tribal tats, that type of shit. The thing that I find interesting is that you fanboys, you find issues with me critiquing and pointing out flaws in the show, but when it comes to videos like that, you let that shit slide. You just are completely fine with that shit. They'll talk and ramble and talk about a bunch of bullshit that cannot be confirmed in any capacity. For you could listen to that shit for hours on end, no issues. You come to one of my videos where I'm trying to break down and analyze the show because I am a Dragon Ball fan and I want consistency to be a staple of the show, and I'm a fucking hater for that. Another thing that I find interesting is a lot of you fanboys say my reviews or my rants are trash, and you don't give a fuck about them, yet you see rant in the title and you click on it anyway. Mind you, I'm not clickbaiting. What I put in my title is exactly what I go over. Literally exactly. If I say I'm doing a rant and I put that in the title, that's exactly what you're clicking on. It's not clickbait. So if you knew what was going to be in the video, why did you click on it? Is it possible that maybe you're insecure that someone is daring to challenge the logic that is presented in this show and how it keeps going back and back and back on its own established logic again and again and again? And then you guys are the same people that will say, I should leave it to Enter Dragon Ball Review It Here, who literally the only thing they do in their reviews, right? The only thing they do in their reviews is they talk about the episode, and that's it. They just, literally, that's what they do. They do a play-by-play of the entire episode. Don't add any input or analysis on it. Just say it was a good episode, and don't really explain why. Those videos get hundreds of thousands of views. Just for literally telling you exactly what happened in the video, which makes especially less sense considering the fact that most of you who watch these reviews have seen the episode already. So you're only watching those reviews to hear them mimic your own thoughts. Do you know what that's called? That's someone affirming your bias. You think the episode is good, so when someone else has a large influence, and there's a ton of other people around who have the same bias that you do and have the same opinions you do, you think because this large group of people like this shit, and you included like this shit, that everyone should like this shit. If this X person with hundreds of thousands of subs says is good, it has to be good. If all of these people around you think that it's good, it has to be good, right? Too bad that's not how opinions work, right? I see through the bullshit. I see what you fanboy support. If someone is, I can guarantee you, and you guys probably know what I'm talking about, if someone is a woman and just does a bunch of clickbaity bullshit and makes a bunch of bullshit about Dragon Ball Super and makes a video on it, she will get 100,000 views within a week. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. And have almost no dislikes to her name. And she will just be rolling around in dough. If someone who doesn't monetize any of their videos puts rant in the title and bothers to analyze the show in any capacity, you'll click on it anyway. This video will get significantly less views than someone who is clickbaiting and lying to you to your face. And you'll dislike it into oblivion because they don't share the same opinion as you do. Do you not understand the warped mentality that you have? You are making me necessary. You are the ones that are giving me popularity. You don't have to watch my shit. But your insecurity and the fact that someone is bothering to criticize it, despite the fact that 80% of this fan base for the most part does, that's an arbitrary percentage. But I'm pretty sure it's most likely, it's just most likely true, because I see almost no one over a certain threshold of subscribers, usually around 50K, even bothering to criticize this shit. Include the only two people that I know of that criticize this shit that have over 50K subscribers is Laughing Stock Media, Super Mizaku, and Swag Kage. And the thing about Swag Kage is I'm not even 100% sure if he's a Dragon Ball YouTuber or not, because he has Kage in his name. I'm not 100% sure. I don't watch his content regularly. But for the most part, people that have over that threshold are praising it almost unanimously. They don't point out anything wrong with the show. They don't give a shit. They turn off their brains just like all of you do, and you consume it. And then you call yourselves the true fans, and anyone else who disagrees are haters or don't give a shit about the franchise. And the thing is, I don't even have to do rants in order to provoke you. I don't even have to. I made a video where I analyzed one of Seth's videos, where he said that Goku survived the black hole. In that whole video, I was respectful. I said, don't call me a hater, because I'm going to explain why I'm not a hater in this video. I'm going to give you nothing but facts. I'm going to give you nothing but counterpoints. And even in that video, I still was called a hater. You say, I don't give a shit about what you have to say. You're still a hater. Just blind rage for the sake of blind rage. Right? And it's disappointing. This fan base, the point of my videos, the reason why I exist, is because you exist. Until this community changes and the way that it behaves with other people in the same community, instead of actually trying to talk shit out, instead of just coming to someone's video, mass disliking, mass flagging, attempting to censor people, calling them hater and faggots in the comment section, until you stop doing that shit, I'll still be here. And there's nothing you can do about it. Now, granted, you might think, wow, what a uppity cunt this guy is, right? This guy must think he's a know-it-all. Which, if you watched any of my other videos, you would know is not the case. I regularly ask my own viewers for corrections if I make a mistake, and to criticize me if my logic it's fallacious in any capacity. That's the reason why I issue corrections in the comment section if I make a legitimate mistake and I'm called on it. I always do. I always make corrections in my videos. But since you probably don't believe me, here's a correction that I'm going to be issuing for that rant, because this is one of the major points in the video. And even though I believe my conclusion was still correct, it doesn't matter if the way that I got to that conclusion was faulty. And it was faulty because I was pissed off about the video and I didn't look at it hard enough. And to that I apologize. So I'm going to go over my own error in the video for your enjoyment. So the first thing that you'll see in this screenshot here is you'll notice that in that video I said that this key wave that came from Anti-Liza destroyed Android 17's barrier. It appeared that way, but after getting input from Kid Mars and Supreme Gaia 7, I might have messed up the second name, but they should know who I'm talking about regardless. Because they point out to me that 17's barrier was not destroyed, I actually had to relook at it, and they were right. I was pretty sure that it was destroyed, but it does appear that because the ground was destroyed under him, that he lost his concentration and he dropped his barrier instead of the barrier being destroyed by his key blast. So thank you to Kid Mars for bringing it up and bringing it to my attention, and for Supreme Gaia to actually hammer it into my head that this is the case, that no, it wasn't broken, it just simply he undid it. Okay, that's fine. Thank you to you two, I appreciate you. Another thing that I found that was interesting is after I re-looked at the fucking episode and I looked at the screenshot, even though the barrier, the level of the barrier has had, like how much power it has, is complete bullshit. The barrier itself, I think I've said in the video that the barrier itself is the only thing that allowed him to cut through the key blast, right? Which is also not accurate. If you look at the screenshot here, you can see that he's using ki from both his hands in order to push himself into the key blast, right? That's the reason how he was able to get into it to begin with, was able to cut through it like butter, is that he changed the key property in his hands so that he could basically cut into it and was able to go through the other side, right? And here's the thing, is because there's a lot of it's not like chakra natures per se, but ki does have different properties. Like an attack like the Kamehameha or the Gallic Gun is more of an attack used to we'll say it's used to like overwhelm or to obliterate, to push essentially, whereas attacks like the Special Beam Cannon is used to pierce objects. So basically what he did is he made his key I was about to say key nature, this is a Naruto, he made his key property so that he was able to actually drill into it. So that's the reason why it's called the Special Beam Cannon, because cannons don't drill things. That's what makes them special. Oh man, that shit always cracks me up, man. But so that's the part of the reason. So it wasn't just the barrier that allowed him to cut through the key blast, it was the energy in his hands and the barrier itself, right? So what does that mean then? Does that mean that that there's faults in my conclusion? As I already said, no, my conclusion is not wrong. It's just that the way I approached this was incorrect, it was faulty. So just so that you understand with complete clarity, right, Anti-Liza's key blast is God tier, unequivocally. It doesn't matter if you think that it's God tier or not. Okay, he was pushing back a key blast from Golden Frieza, which is God tier, because it was rivaling Super Saiyan Blue Goku. As a matter of fact, it was even the Super Saiyan Blue Goku before they even entered the fight, right? So he's God tier. We already know Goku was God tier, and he was using Super Saiyan Blue here. Vegeta's God tier. He was using Super Saiyan Blue. Gohan is Mystic form, it rivals Super Saiyan Blue Goku, which is directly stated by the narrator. That's not me making that shit up. And 17 himself also rivals Super Saiyan Blue Goku, as he forced Goku to go into Super Saiyan Blue. He didn't want to, he had to, because of how powerful 17 was. So got that out the way, right? This key blast was pushing back all of their key blasts combined. Like, it means that his key blast power was greater than the aggregate of all of their power combined. Okay? Again, 17's barrier was able to not only push into it without being destroyed, but it was able to go through the entire key blast without breaking. Which means that his defensive capability is greater than the aggregate of all of the people who were firing this key blast combined. So if there, let's say there was a duplicate of 17, and instead of this key blast being here, Android 17 was the one that was coming towards them and not this key blast. By the show's own logic, 17's barrier would be able to cut through, or at least not be destroyed by all of those ki blasts combined. Which makes zero sense for multiple reasons. A, he's not even God tier. So how is a non-God tier being able to essentially tank a blast from 5 God tier or relativistic to God tier enemies? It doesn't make any sense. It's just ass pull for the sake of ass pull. So while the way I approached this conclusion was wrong, the end result is still the same. Okay, 17 should not have, his barrier should not have been able to even hold, should not have been able to go through that and hold up while going through that ki blast. It's bullshit. That's basically saying that his defensive capabilities is greater than that of 3 gods combined. That doesn't make any fucking sense, as he's never been established to be God tier. And as a matter of fact, in the manga, even though that's completely different from the anime, he's not even God tier in the manga, so I guess they're trying to correct that, or Toyotarou is trying to correct that anyway. So it just doesn't make any sense. Doesn't matter if he has infinite ki or infinite stamina, right? You're not God tier. A God tier attack should break that, should be able to break that, period. And not only that, if that was the case, then this whole ki beam struggle wasn't even necessary, as 17 himself basically would have been able to hold back this attack with his barrier, and the 4 of them could have figured out a way to break his energy reactor, and then they could have done a combined ki blast there and knocked him off the edge instead of doing this unnecessary ki beam struggle and just making the ass pull even worse than what it already was. So that's the corrections that I want to issue on that front. And the second thing that I want to talk about is a lot of people were talking about the ultrasonic waves thing, right? The thing is that while I understand where you guys are coming from, you guys are saying that you know, these guys are FTL, so it doesn't make any sense that he'd be able to use ultrasonic waves to detect FTL level beings. God damn you, Adobe. And the thing is, I don't think that's the case. And the reason why is ultrasonic waves are not, they're not natural, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not naturally occurring phenomena, right? So it's not the, like, ultrasonic waves are not the same thing as gravity, light, and sound, right? These ultrasonic waves have to be produced in some way. So because they have to be created, and nor, like, it doesn't, like, ultrasonic waves just don't, I don't think they just exist. I could be wrong. I'm not a physics major, right? And depending on what is actually creating the ultrasonic waves, it can go into the gigahertz of frequency, which doesn't let you match, you know, speed of light speed travel. It doesn't let you detect that. But because this is a god tier enemy, which you've already gone over, okay, it's possible that he has enhanced ultrasonic waves to such a high frequency that allows him to match the movements of, or at least read the movements of the fighters here. So Gohan, Goku, Vegeta, and all of them, right? That's the reason why he was able to match all of them and why he was able to keep track of it. That's my conclusion, just because it's a god tier robot. If he can make a ki blast, right, that can basically hold back 5 god tier enemies, right, then I don't think it's that big of a reach that he's also able to use a device that uses ultrasonic waves, and it's like one of the top, the most top of tiers of ultrasonic waves at a very high frequency. I don't think that is that big of a reach for me to say that, and hopefully you guys understand where I'm coming from when I say that as well. So on that note, now that I'm done doing my corrections, I wanted to show you guys something interesting. Like I said at the start of the video, I don't have issues with critics. People that actually genuinely look at my video, correct me, give me valid criticisms, because people think that when I say I don't give a fuck about your feelings, that means that I'm talking to everybody who bothers to criticize me. That's not true in any capacity. I don't give a fuck about the feelings of fanboys, and I never will. So I'm going to show you guys the conversation that I had with one of the critics that I had on my channel, and he's probably one of the best criticisms that I've ever received thus far. So let's go into that real quick. I want to show that to you guys. So Actually, no, it's better if we view it here, because I think I actually have it pulled up. Okay, yep, here it is. So I said to Ryan that I was going to shout him out in this video. So here is his criticisms. I'm just going to read you the conversation. If you don't read the conversation, you can obviously go to the video and look for them. To be honest, I actually might pin them just so that people can see what valid criticism actually looks like. This is more of something that I wanted to show to the fanboys, because this is how you provide adequate criticism without sounding like a dumbass. Okay, so this is what Ryan said. Alright, everything you said in this video is technically correct, but a majority of this seems pretty mundane. Like, I don't understand why you would still be watching this show 121 episodes in if these kinds of issues bother you this much. Most of this is just typical Dragon Ball nonsense that slips in every now and then. I don't get why you're still even here. And I don't mean that rhetorically or to be a dick or a troll. I'm dead serious. I get how this kind of stuff could bother some people, as everything you brought up is totally fair. But I would stop watching this shit after like episode 3 if issues such as these were enough to completely derail my enjoyment. It's just that a lot of these issues have popped up throughout Dragon Ball Z and onward. Illogical shit like this has always been a part of the franchise, and we just kind of roll our eyes and move on. None of this seems fundamental to me. Also, giving an episode like this a 0 out of 10 just makes you lose credibility. That is utterly ridiculous, and you know it. There are true 0s out of 10 in this show, but this episode is not one of them. Come on now. So this is my response to him, okay? I'm only doing these videos because A, my fans enjoy this content, B, virtually no one is critical of this show, so I do this as a hobby, C, I watch this as I'm an avid Dragon Ball fan and I care about the direction of the franchise, and D, I can give the episode whatever rating I want. I don't grade episodes on how cool it is or how great the animation is. I feel like those are really shallow ways of grading an episode. I still watch Ogintama episodes when the animation was still meh, but I keep watching because the quality of the jokes, storytelling, and narrative is top tier. Also, no, this bullshit doesn't just slip in every once in a while, it's literally every other episode. I made an entire 1-hour video where I critically broke down the trash in this arc, and if I was actually thorough, I could have went for 2 hours. But you are right, 0 out of 10 is unfair, but I only do it to piss off fanboys. Obviously it works because people, not saying you, click on this shit knowing it's a rant and complain about me complaining, and then tell me to stop watching this when they could stop watching my videos. Take your own advice. It's free content, you don't have to consume it. This is his response to me, yet again. I understand what you're saying, but I think you're ignoring all the good aspects of the show for the sake of making rant videos. You lose people when all you do is shit on the show for 30 minutes without even mentioning all the positive. It just comes off as blind hatred to people. Not me, as I checked out your videos and I realized you were merely being critical. I think being critical is good. I am not a fanboy of this show by any means, and I've had fun crapping all over it, but I also recognize that it gets a lot right as well. And when a beloved episode like 116 or 118 comes out, undeniably flawed but still awesome episodes, and you make a 30-minute video just shitting on it, that comes off as overly complaining where you're just ignoring all the good to solely focus on the bad. And yeah, I get that I could stop watching. I'm just offering criticism of your stuff the same way you're criticizing the show. And the same way you don't hate Dragon Ball, I don't hate your stuff. I just find it overbearing and exaggerated sometimes. And this is my response back to him. I 100% get your feedback, and I do give credit when it's due. You must understand though, I am a fan to a fault. Even if I acknowledge this episode for what it does right, it still doesn't quell the blinding rage that I can have when making these videos. I don't seek to give well-balanced objective criticism of the show at all times. I can and do on occasion, but when I get pissed off, everything else becomes meaningless. This episode had an interesting opponent, good visuals, and great musical timing. I put time, that was an accident. However, if those positives are completely outshined by the backwards logic in the episode, I'm likely not to mention it. I don't script these script videos and go free flow, so it's not surprising that I failed to mention these things. Also, I'm aware you're not a fanboy. You genuinely have given me the most constructive feedback I've ever received on this channel in the past 5 months, not even bullshitting you, and fanboys are incapable of giving such feedback. They either call me a hater or a faggot and move along, hence why I have fun exposing them on my comment reviews. I'm making one later today. I'll take your criticism seriously, as I could dial it back a bit. Just remember that this is entertainment, and I'm hyperbolic in a few parts of the video to either emphasize a point or just to piss off some fanboys. I'll be sure to shout you out as an example to give how to give feedback without arguing with the temperament of a child. Top shelf, mate. Top shelf. His response was, Artist Affinity, yeah, no problem. It's just an anime after all. Fanboys online tend to take this shit, make this shit personal and take it a bit too seriously sometimes. Thanks for the responses. So, let me drink some water because my mouth is hella dry. This Fanboys, this is how you give criticism. This is what constructive feedback looks like. So here's what I'm gonna do right now. While you're watching it, I'm putting this to the top of the page, and it's gonna stay there. I'm not gonna change it because you don't understand. Me being proven wrong, me being corrected, is of no blow to my ego. None whatsoever. Every time that I get criticized in a way that is informative or helpful to me, it helps me evolve my content as a creator. So, because of what this guy told me, which is the most constructive feedback, I will dial it back a little bit. And I've gotten this feedback before, but it wasn't done in quite an eloquent way as this guy put it. But I will be dialing it back a little bit. So, because the thing is, I don't even need to be thematic or anything like that in order to get you fucking fanboys to click on this shit. I know I don't, because just me criticizing the show is enough for me to trigger you, because your insecurity makes you click on the video, which just gives me more relevance. So I will dial it back a bit. Excuse me. I'll dial it back a bit, and I will start putting the positives in the show at the start. If I want to make a rant, I'll give the credit show where it's due, and then I'll rip into it like I always do. This is not me trying to concede to pressure, okay? This is not me trying to backpedal. This is simply me evolving as a creator, because I don't even have to be thematic. I don't even have to be. I could sit here and I could spit straight facts into this mic for an hour straight, and you guys will still fucking click on this shit and call me a hater, call me a faggot, whatever you want to say. I don't give a shit. I will still be here. I will still exist. So, to all the fanboys that are watching this shit, to all the people that continually allow the trash in this community to exist, and you don't bother to criticize that, but you'll come into my video and call me a hater, thanks for your patronage. Thanks for your clicks. Thanks for your views. Thanks for your hater comments. I'm not even going to review them in this because it's pointless. I don't really give a shit. Why do I need to give you attention? Right? So, thank you for your patronage. And, keep clickety-clacking away and being a keyboard warrior on the internet. All you're doing is giving me more power. And once I've got enough of it, you already know what's going to happen. Artist Infinity. Out.